Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with just me. It's just KJ. No, Corey and Mike. We're changing our day for recording from Thursdays to Wednesdays, and it just didn't work out this Wednesday. So it's just me. We were going to do... I don't even know what our episode was supposed to be on, but we're going to do something else. Next week should be Ahsoka, because I think that ends this week. So this will air on Monday, and then Ahsoka finale comes out Tuesday. Then we should be recording Wednesday with everybody back in the studio. But this week it is just me, and we're going to be talking about a show that I planned on talking about sometime, probably whenever we didn't have an episode plan. Welcome to today. And then other news came out within this week that it's actually more relevant to talk about this show, seeing as this show is no longer going to be on the air. That show is called Heels, and if you know anything about me, I'm a giant, used to be a giant wrestling fan, now a wrestling fan who still has nostalgia from when he was a kid. Did also buy WrestleMania tickets for next year in Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40, so maybe still giant. But either way, this is a wrestling show with Stephen Amell, who most people know as Green Arrow, who's himself a huge wrestling fan, has had wrestling matches in WWE and AEW. So he was like really integral in this show. Wanting to get it off the ground and starring in it, and it was on Stars, which basically nobody has, which is a thing in and of itself. One of the reasons why Ash versus the Evil Dead didn't really get the acclaim that it was supposed to, because it was on Stars. But either way, so this show is about a indie wrestling promotion from a small town. I think it's Duffy, I think is what the town is called. But it's like a family-run business for a while, and then the dad kills himself, and then the brothers come together and try to basically do the wrestling promotion themselves and kind of be able to tell their own stories with their own characters. And it's a very interesting take on the wrestling world, because it seems... I mean, obviously, there's TV shows that are going to dramatize things for the audience, but watching some of the other indie stuff where you get to see people and kind of the way the background works and how a lot of them are struggling for the most part, even though it's something that they love to do, so they're willing, to make $10, $20, $30 a night, along with having a real job just so they can perform, with obviously the hope to ever make it to like the big leagues, or at least be able to make a living just doing that. So you get that part of it, but then they have a way of introducing all of these characters that you care about. Again, Stephen Amell as Jack Spade in the show is very compelling, from his relationship with his brother to his wife, the relationship with the other wrestlers in the show, the terrible relationship he had with his dad. You get to see kind of all of that like unfold. Real quick about Stephen Amell, there's a giant controversy going on with him, or there was, which could have been one of the reasons for this cancellation. Because when the writer's strike and actor's strike was going on, he wasn't very happy, because it was like right before the second season of Heels was to debut this summer, and he was not happy because he was ready to go talk about the show, because he was very passionate about this project and his co-stars and the writing and everything they were trying to do. And the show was very well liked. I don't know what it was doing for viewership, because again, it was on Stars, but like critic-wise and viewer-wise for rating it, they were very high for both seasons. So people, at least, like, the product they were putting out was good. I just don't know how many people were actually watching it. But anyway, so when you're not supposed to be talking about any of the projects or upcoming projects, like, he's taking pictures and trying to promote his new show while not promoting it. He went on stage during like one of the cons and mentioned that he thought it was stupid that they were going on strike and there were other ways to do it. And then Got a lot of backlash for that, and then all of a sudden he's out on the picket line. So yeah, that didn't go over well with a lot of people. And then right after the writer's strike kind of ends, you hear that Starz canceled like 4 or 5 shows, one of them being Heels, which sucks. And we'll get into why that sucks. Well, essentially the fact that I like the wrestling show, but it sucks for another reason, which is how season 2 ended, and we won't know what's supposed to happen afterwards. So that kind of sucks. It's also got, if anybody ever watched Vikings, it's got Alexander Ludwig in it, who played one of the sons of the main guy from Vikings. I can't remember his name. I think it was Bjorn, but he ends up in Vikings, spoiler, he ends up dying in one of the seasons, and he dies like a fucking trooper. Like, he's already dying, and then he goes out on his horse and gets like, I don't know, like 30 arrows shot into him, and yet he still survives for a little bit just to kind of live up to the legacy of his name and his father's name, of being like these more than human characters. But anyway, so he's really good in this too. Like, you get to see his range from being this cocky, arrogant little prick in the first few episodes to try to coming around to then like really diving into his character and what it could be, rather than just being this kind of like boring baby face that just gets pushed for no reason, and it goes to his head like, oh, I'm great, I'm this and that, even though, again, it's people can be great in the ring, but it's also about the storytelling, and it's also about whoever is booking it puts people over. And it went to his head in the first season, and then you get more of him kind of understanding everything in the second season. But yeah, so that's Alexander Ludwig. It's got a bunch of other people in it, like Mary McCormick, who was from a USA show, In Plain Sight, about them putting people from witness protection in Albuquerque and like trying to keep them safe, obviously. It's got some other people in there. Wild Bill, which is Chris Bauer, and I'm trying to remember where I know Chris Bauer from. Was it The Wire? Because I love The Wire, and it might have been The Wire. I don't remember who he was on The Wire, though, so that's gonna bug me. But anyway, he's really good in it. Oh, he's Sabatka. That's right. He's the main character from the second season. That's right. That's why I know him. Okay, look. See, I'm figuring things out while I'm on the air recording this. So there we go. Anyway, so the first season of the show, they're trying to put on this event at a like a fair, and it's everything is building up to that with all their characters and trying to come up with the right story, and it all culminates at the fair in a really fun like 3-way ladder match where someone not involved with the match actually wins the match. It then becomes a controversy that leads into the second season, where they start battling it out with a rival promotion, and then that leads into them like potentially talking to a online company or online streaming company about like airing some of their stuff. And then you get this a show where it's like company versus company, similar to what WWF did back in the day with WCW versus WWF when we had the Invasion storyline, even though at that time WWF owned both companies. But you had that where it was like one show versus another. Anyway, the way this whole match is supposed to lead out is it's supposed to end up being the main character of the show, which is Jack Spade, Stephen Amell's character, taking on Ace Spade, that's Alexander Ludwig, brother versus brother, one brand versus another brand, and it's supposed to be that Jack goes over because he's betrayed his DWL company, and he ends up doing a move. I like it and I didn't like it, because they only showed that he was practicing a move in a flashback in the last episode. But he tries a shooting star press. And if you don't know what a shooting star press is, you're standing on the top rope, you're jumping forward while doing a backflip, and you're then landing on your opponent. And so he does that, and he lands on his brother, and it's a last man standing match, so you have to get up by the count of 10, and his brother's happy that the match went off without a hitch, and he's waiting for his brother that landed on him for Jack to stand up, and Jack's telling him, no, you stand up, and he's very confused, and then you learn that Jack can't stand. He's probably paralyzed himself from hitting that move. So then the other one stands, and it's a big controversy in the back because that's not how the story was written. That's not what everybody agreed to. So there's a ton of stuff that could have been like hashed out in a third season, because the company that wants to buy the wrestling wants to actually buy both promotions that are having this event against one another. So you're going to be like merging the rosters, and then you have the this overhanging lawsuit that I didn't mention because that's one of the reasons why they had the brand versus brand match. But there's just so much stuff they could have gone into, and it's pretty well written. It's pretty well acted. It's not the greatest acting in the world, but it's far from mediocre or the worst. It has some better writing, especially for like a wrestling show, because they take it seriously like a lot of people in the indies do. And you've got people like CM Punk who guest stars, AJ Lee who guest stars, a few others that have been on here and there, and CM Punk almost basically became like a not a main character, but a reoccurring character in the second season. But you have all these stories and all these things that they seem like they were setting up for a third season, and now Starz has canceled it. So that is quite disappointing for me. I was definitely there's basically nothing on Starz. Like, Starz is not a TV station that I want, but it's one of the ones where I got it specifically just to watch heels. So I literally kept it from like last year or a year and a half ago, just so I should have canceled it and then re-upped it, but that's neither here nor there. But I was going to like keep it, and then even for this next year, so I could watch Heel Season 3, because I was actually excited after this season finale, and now it's gone, and it kind of sucks. And especially it sucks as if Steven did it to himself, because I mentioned it earlier that their like critic-wise is pretty high. Like the first season was like a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, so 96% of like the critics were really high on it. On Metacritic, it was 73 out of 100. Second season, you're at 90. Metacritic, you're at 79. So like very favorable reviews for this, and now it's over, which kind of sucks. Like, it was just earlier this month that the show officially ended. I think it was on like September 15th, 16th, something like that, whatever day it aired. But yeah, now it's over. So I planned on doing this episode and like trying to hype up, like, oh, here's what I think what they'll do in the next season. I'm still going to get to that because screw it, why not? Maybe it'll get shopped out to another network to pick it up. I doubt it, because everything was Stephen Amell. But, you know, it kind of sucks to have that, especially with... Again, I wouldn't say there was hype behind this show, but you definitely had actors who liked it, who were proud of their work. And then you also had people that were like pivotal to making it feel like a wrestling show and not just a TV show about wrestling. So I don't know, it had all facets. It was enjoyable. So now, because screw it, I'm just going to talk about season 3 of what I wanted from it. So these shows were only, or seasons I should say, are only 8 episodes apiece. So you're not really getting a lot of fat. You're getting right to the heart of kind of everything. There's not a lot of filler in there. And there's so many characters, and I haven't even talked about all of them yet, that are kind of important to this show. You've got Jack's wife, who everything with her and her son, and Jack trying to be a better father than his father, and knowing like when you're supposed to back down and when you're not. Mary McCormick character, who deals with a lot of the like operation side of the company, and she's struggling, and she might she was looking at taking another job with the rival promotion, more or less because she felt like she should be more ahead in her life for this business avenue. We have Crystal Tyler is the name in the show. She was like a valet of Alexander's character, and then when he went out, she became a valet for Wild Bill, and then she ends up actually being the person that wins the title in the first season, even though she wasn't in the match. Then the second season happens, and then she wins the title legitimately, but then has to relinquish the title because they didn't really want to see like a woman and a man against each other, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, both in this fake world and in the real world, where men were beating up women. And so then if you're trying to put that on TV where people would enjoy themselves, people are probably going to relate it to what's actually happening in real life. So they just made her the women's champion, and they were doing everything else they were doing. So, but her character was growing, got an offer to go to a different company, wanted to stay with the place that made her. You've got CM Punk's character, who just came in for like a couple episodes in the first season, before being like kind of a staple of the wrestling promotion of the DWL in the second season. You got a lot out of Wild Bill's podcast that he did. I don't remember the name of the guy he was doing it with. But there's like a podcast, and they have this whole interaction together that's pretty good. And then bringing them to talk to other wrestlers. I don't know. You were getting more backstory of these characters that didn't necessarily get a lot in the first season, but they were fleshing it out in a bit in the second, while also introducing some other characters. So I thought they were going to keep going for that for the third season, because you could have added more wrestlers, because now you were supposed to have the DWL merge with this other rival promotion, and you were going to get their characters too, besides for just like one-off shots. You're actually probably going to learn about them. You're going to have to deal with the inner workings of Jack and the other owner trying to make it work while also now answering to a boss, and before that they didn't. Before they were their own boss, so you're probably going to get that dynamic, and then what creative is going to go over somebody else's creative. Obviously Jack's now probably paralyzed or something, so, or at least his in-ring career is probably over. So what are you going to do with that in the story? And then you have Alexander's character, who emerged in the second season as the Condemned, which was like a Sting vigilante type character. So where's that supposed to go? And then he's on his own personal journey, with just being like this spoiled kid that really didn't do anything, to now like he works at an old folks home, and he's taking care of people and trying to live a better life, along with trying to get his career like off the ground. So it'll be interesting to see, or would have been interesting to see, where they were going with everybody. And that just all went out the window. And I really don't think that it's going to be something that gets picked up. I don't know what type of audience there is for this, or like that would clamor for it, because it's the internet, so there will be fans of the show that will get on there that'll be like, somebody should pick this up, or somebody should bring this back. But with everything going on with Stephen Amell anyway, there's probably more people on the opposite side saying that they're happy that the show is canceled. But yeah, I don't know. I was definitely looking forward to like a season 3 or 4, potentially even up to 5, just to like wrap up this whole story. You definitely need a third season to wrap up a lot. But now it just seems like this is going to be one of those that just ended because it ended. And it also ended for a stupid reason. If it's got high rating, or not, again, I keep saying ratings. I don't know why I keep saying that, because I don't know the ratings, because it's on fucking Stars. It's not like an HBO where it's Game of Thrones and it shuts down the entire network. It's not like these other shows that have like the Nielsen ratings. It's on Stars, and that's the hard part. I mentioned it earlier with Ash vs. Evil Dead. Like, as soon as that got on Netflix, because they bought the rights to just air what Stars had already had, people loved it and were so excited for it. And we're talking to Bruce Campbell about it, and it was like, hey, it's so good that you got this show. And he's like, that was like 5 years ago, man. Where were you then? And yeah, that now Netflix just bought the rights, but they don't actually, like, it's not a show that's ongoing. And I feel like that's could be one of these things too. Like, if this show was on a different network that had more subscribers, or on an actual network on TV, I think you could have seen it go a little bit further before all the controversy stuff, just because of the acting and the writing, because I felt like it's better than a lot of stuff that's out there. Now, part of that's probably biased, because again, I enjoy the wrestling aspect of it, and seeing that behind the scenes stuff and how they try to come up with some of the stories and how it all kind of like works together. Big fan of that. But yeah, so I plan on doing more for this podcast, but then kind of got shot in the ass when this got canceled this week. Yeah, I was definitely expecting more, but what are you gonna do? I will say, because I brought it up earlier, I did buy WrestleMania tickets, and so that'll be in April in Philly. A friend and I, that we had talked about it for like 30 years, are gonna go. He doesn't watch wrestling like at all anymore, so that'll be interesting. And it's also going to be at the Lincoln Soldier Field, or whatever the hell it's called, the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, where I've been a couple times. So, but this will be, you're actually going to be on the quote unquote field, or at least that's where our tickets are. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. To see what matches they put out, especially seeing it live. I've seen some events live, but never like a pay-per-view live, and definitely never WrestleMania. So I'm excited for that. See, I would have been more excited for it if there was heels. Maybe I could have even been more excited. Maybe Stephen Amell would have been there. Although now, if he's not working, maybe he could be there anyway. I'm sure they'd put him in a match. Who knows? Yeah, like I said, I was going to go on longer, but now there's no real reason, because it kind of like shot me in the ass. So this is going to be a really quick episode then, which, fuck it, why not? Next week, like I said, we'll get everybody back together. We'll do the Ahsoka season 1, which I just have to watch the finale, because I've caught up on everything else, so I don't have to binge anything, but it's really good. I recommend watching it if you haven't, so at least that when we do the episode, you'll be caught up and we're not spoiling anything, but it's really good on Disney+. And that's where I'll end it. We'll see you guys next week.